Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Tuesday at noon. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, and for the first time in a while, we have Fletcher Cox talking about an Eagles win. And Fletch, true to form, is looking at the chat, and he's like, "What? Hold on, what are the sickos?" And so, welcome to sicko culture. This is the people who are in every day. Those are our sickos.
It's an honor to be here. I'm part of the sicko club, and it's an honor. So. Sickos, we're here.
All right, we appreciate that. Now, as we said, Fletch, you're coming off snapping this 3-game losing streak, 33-25 over the New York Giants. Not necessarily easy in the second half, but tell us just about the feeling in the locker room after that game. Is it a little bit more, boy, why did we have to make that so hard, or is it more, okay, like we got the win that we needed, now we can sort of turn the page?
I mean, first off, winning in this league is hard, right? No matter who you're playing, or what day you're playing on, But the biggest thing is, we got the win, right? But we made it so hard on ourselves, coming out, and I feel like, as a team, we started slow in the second half. We didn't come out with enough fire, and to kind of put the game away, but we found a way to win, and that's kind of been our deal like all year, right? We've been willing our way to wins, and that's the part you enjoy about it, and finding out how close the team is, and and what happened in those type of situations, and we talk about that a lot. But we found a way to close the game out. I'm sure we made a lot of fans sit on the edge of their seats, which they've been doing all year.
Christmas was a little more stressful than they were hoping.
A lot more stressful. A little more gray hair, but we got the win, and that's what's important.
It's in that locker room after the game. It was interesting hearing different perspectives. Some guys were like, we're not playing well. This is unacceptable. Some guys like Brandon Graham said there's no almost or barely column. You either win or you lose, right? Where do you kind of fall on it? Do you look at it like there's a lot you guys need to clean up, or just appreciate the fact that you guys won?
I'm going to repeat what Coach said last night, and before everybody got in the locker room. A win is a win. 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 And that's what he started his post-game speech with. And you have to respect that, We won the game, and back to what I just said, that just so hard to win in this league, and you have to appreciate every moment of it.
We did not have a chance to talk to you last week, Fletch, and so we got to talk about the change in the defensive coaching staff, moving from Sean Desai as the signal caller to Matt Patricia. First of all, I guess, what was your reaction when that decision was made? And then, how different is, the day-to-day, how differently are things being run with Matt Patricia? I mean,
there's just so much respect for Sean, right? And you can't put it all on Sean, right? Us as players, I think we failed him because his job was to call a defense. Our job was, to execute the play that was called. And, there's so many people, so many players in that locker room that's got his back. And he got us 10 wins, right? He got us 10 wins, a bunch of turnovers, and, won a bunch of close games that we closed out. We can't forget about that, right? We can't forget about, during training camp and everything that we did, and so much respect for Sean Desai. But at the end of the day, there was a decision that was made, and as a pro, you have to just, approach everything as it's just the next day, right? Or just a new voice in the room. And Coach Matty P, he's a new voice in the room. He's a new play caller on defense, and it just, you appreciate him so much. And you have to move on to new things, new voices. And we're running the same scheme that we've been running. Obviously, maybe come in just maybe a tad different, but it's the same Sean Desai scheme that we've ran all year. And the guys are embracing it and having fun doing it.
And following up on that, it's not like you brought in someone from the outside. Patricia has been here since the spring. He helped install the scheme during the offseason. What do you know about him, and he's kind of been on the other sideline for most of your career. How have you gotten to know him during the past few months?
It's not even about the last few months. You know, me and Patricia, we talk daily. Before this decision was made, we talked daily about ball, about life, about everything. And so it was kind of an easy transition for me, you know, knowing him, knowing about him. You know, well, let's be honest, the guy's been to 9 Super Bowls, you know, won, 4 or 5 of them, you know, so he know what he's doing, right? And, you know, just about those conversations and having with him, the respect I have for him, and, you know, he's not afraid to call, you know, anybody out. It don't matter who you are. He's one of those coaches he's gonna push your best players. He expect the best players and expect the leaders to lead. You know, Sean Desai was the same. He was exactly the same. And, you know, we're looking forward to it. His second game in. Now we get another week we all get another week to grow as a defense, you know, and as an entire unit, you know, to hear his voice on the sideline. And we're all excited for it. A
quick follow-up there. In his first press conference last week, he said that he saw you practice earlier in the season, and he was thinking when you came out, and he wished he had his hands on you back then, right? Like, is he someone you knew back when you were coming out of college?
Man, it's a really good relationship with me and Matty P. You know, there's so much respect for him, you know, as a coach and as a man. He's been in this league a long time. He's won a lot. And, you know, and my standard of practice is I hold myself to a standard of practice, right? You know, I fly around. You know, I'm physical in practice. You know, I want to lead. You know, I want to lead everybody, and I think that's the thing that he respects about me. And me and him can have conversations as men. You know, player to coach, coach to player, man to man, and be honest with each other. And that's the thing that I really respect about him.
That said, I mean, I think there are probably a lot of people who were thinking 10 years ago, I wish they could have drafted Fletcher Cox. It's not like some crazy thing for Matt Patricia to say. But personality-wise, how is he different at all in terms of like leading the meeting room than Sean was?
Yeah, it's different, right? You know, each coach is different. You know, our presentation of and when we are in, you know, the defensive meetings, you know, the assistants. They kind of open up the game plan where, you know, Desai, he opened up everything and, you know, led the defense the same. But now it's the assistants they kind of open up, and then Matt to come up, install everything, and you know, and as say both coaches leave it up to to your position coach to reinstall what they just put in, and that way we're crisp on what we're doing when we get to the walkthrough.
We were talking about this. It's kind of interesting, full circle wise, that, you know, your first year in the league, there's a defensive coordinator change midseason. Here we are, all this time later, it happens again. But I think this goes to something that you talk about often, that maybe we on the outside overrate the influence of the coaches, and it is in the end about the players.
It is. The biggest thing is it's always about the players executing and playing, right? And, you know, we have to lean on each other. You know, coaches got to lean on us. We have to lean on the coaches. And that's the biggest part of I've understood about, you know, this league being in it for a decade plus is, you know, we still have to go out and execute the game plan at the highest level that we're getting paid to do. And you have to understand that.
And to narrow in on that even more, I can't tell the audience how many times over the past 10 years, 12 years, you said it starts with the D-line, right? Everything kind of starts up front. That's the group where the Eagles spend their money on defense. That's where the high draft picks are. How do you think the front's playing right now, and what do you guys need to do over these next few weeks to be ready for the playoffs?
I think we're playing okay. I think there's another. I think that we can all, including myself, can play better. I think we can all, you know, take over a game. I just feel like there hasn't been a point in this season just yet where the defensive line has taken over the entire game. You know, individually, we've had some guys make some plays, you know, and close games out for us. Sweaty, Haas, BG, you know, everybody's, you know, we've had our fair share of individually of taking over a game, but I don't think we've collectively as a group just completely just dominated the entire game, and I think that time is coming. I know that time's coming, and you know, I believe that time's coming. And, you know, I'm really ready to see it.
And is that sort of just faith in the guys themselves? Is it about like a cohesive plan across the group? What gives you that faith?
Just playing as a group. I think, every week we're growing, right? And especially in the D-tackle room, you look at the experience in that room, and I think, it's funny that I say this. If you look at my experience for 12 years and BG's, 14 to 15?
Mm-hmm, 14, yeah.
And that's the DNs. You look at my experience and his experience, it's almost 30 years of experience where you got Jordan,
right,
Jalen, Milton,
right,
Marlon, Ojamo, everybody's in that room.
Right. Milton's the next experience.
It
most
don't even add up to what
yeah.
I've been played,
Right.
And that's the thing that this team is, this young group is challenging, right? And then those guys are getting better every week. And, and I always challenge those guys to come in every day, practice, and try to teach them how to be pros, young pros, most importantly, young men, and try to show them the way.
There was the play from yesterday where Jalen is not quick enough getting off the field on the 12-man on the field penalty, and Nick is sort of going after him because that's the kind of thing where you expect him to be able to get off the field in time. Is that something where you as a veteran go over and talk to him about it, or it's like he knows what he needed to do there?
Well, just, the coaches handled it, and I think the coaches handled it well. Once the penalty, once the flag got thrown, I kind of know that was, it was just kind of one of them deals where, it was, the defense had to go back out and try to get a stop. Obviously, I think that's a mistake that Jalen will grow from. We all know he'll grow from it because, that was just one of them things where, the defense didn't have to take those 5, 6, 7, extra snaps and give our offense, another possession once they punt the ball to score. But I think those are things that, he'll learn from. I'll talk to him about getting off the field on that because teams are looking at that type of stuff. And they got scouts too. So we learn from it, we move on, and then, hopefully it don't happen again.
In staying on the defense, there's so many young guys now who are taking on bigger roles. It's more kind of the secondary and the linebackers, but you see, Keely Ringo had the interception last night. Sidney Brown's playing a lot of snaps. The linebackers you keep shuffling in. Who are some of the young players who are going to be key for this group down the stretch?
I'll say this. I think the biggest thing is we get some guys back. Okay. And I think we get 29 back this week. Mm-hmm. Going into it, hopefully, how we let him out of the cage. Hopefully he's healthy enough. I think we'll get Zach Cunningham back. We'll get Slay back within the next couple of weeks head into this long stretch. I think Nick Morrow, he'll be all right. And, most importantly, I think Shaq played at a really, really high level on yesterday. He brought a lot of energy. Even Ben, Ben made some plays for us. Young guys that stepped in. Sidney, he made some plays. Keely's been playing solid for the last 2 weeks. So it's all about the growth of everybody and the confidence. And I think these last few weeks, these young guys, and they've just been going in the game with so much confidence, and I have so much respect for that.
You mentioned 29. That's Avonte Maddox, and that's someone who, when I talk to you guys, you keep bringing up, and you've kind of played the whole season without him. What is that addition going to do to the defense?
It's going to do a lot. Like Vontae is like one of my good friends. I'm not as close.
You are like lighting up right now for the audio listeners. You're like the mention of Avonte Maddox. You are like smiling more than you have.
What's crazy is like Vontae is one of my really good friends. I'm not as close as him and Dallas is, but me and Vontae.
Who is? Yeah.
Actually, Vontae stay in the same little town, so
okay.
I convinced him to move over there. He loved the city, in Mullica Hill. So, but I'm looking forward to watching him come back and play. His desire, his just seeing him in the training room, doing this whole process. And I told him the other day, I'm so proud of you. The way that he attacked his rehab, and he's able to come back, and hopefully I'll let him come back, and we'll have him back.
It is true, and this is something that I need to remind myself of, that it is not about who is the best team over the course of the season, right? It's about who is the best team at the right time. And if you're getting all these guys back, there was reason to believe that some things can turn around there. I do want to ask you one thing about the cameras caught Hassan and Nick and Jeremiah sort of talking back and forth at the end of the game. I don't need to know about the specifics of that conversation, but just in general, we only see so much of the cameras are only seeing so much of the whole arc of the week for you guys, the whole arc of the season. Can you sort of contextualize those types of conversations, how often those difficult conversations happen, and how easily you guys are able to sort of move past them?
I didn't hear about the whole conversation. I saw some stuff going on the sideline, but I think my most important deal was, it was a timeout, and I was just trying to get the call and make sure I got lined up. I didn't read into it. I think it's the last, the game-winning drive for them, and I was just trying to get lined up, and I think I was on the field for 8 plays straight. So basically, trying to catch my
Right.
breath, trying to get the call, get lined up, making sure I'm doing what I need to do to try to help this team win. I really wasn't caught up in it.
But in terms of like what portion of the job is having those difficult conversations?
It's hard. It's always hard to anybody. And doing the heated time of the game, doing whatever is going on. But you just kind of got to move on. You talk about it after the game, or depends on what happened. I don't know what scenario, what was going on, what that conversation was about. So, we won the game, and I think that's the most important thing.
Outside the locker room on this show, fans, they're scoreboard watching right now. They're saying, well, if the Eagles win out and Dallas loses and Detroit loses, they can get the 1 seed. And there's all these different combinations. Inside the locker room, do you guys pay attention to those combinations?
No, I think the conversation in the locker room is how can we get better as a team. And we know JG's coming to town, and he's going to probably come and try to spoil something, right? I got a lot of respect for him. And I played, he's a great coach, great friend. So we got to know that they're coming here to win, right? So our focus need to be on how can we get better as a team. What do we take? We take our mistakes from last week and learn from them, get better from them. We know that they got to fly across the country, and they're not going to feel sorry for us. They're not going to feel sorry for themselves, right? They're coming off a tough loss, and this team we coming off a strappy win. So we just got to focus on us getting better each day, and focus on what's next for us.
We will have to work on our JG. Johnny Gans is coming to town. Song parody for Santa Claus is coming to town. We'll work on that for next week. But in terms of the holidays, Zach thought about this. You've been in the locker rooms for a long time. We see often like the gifts to teammates and stuff like that. Is there one thing that comes to mind as like the best gift you've received from a teammate in the locker room, or maybe the best you've given?
I mean, I've given away some cool stuff. I can't give away my gift this year yet. We haven't done it yet.
Okay.
But it's a pretty cool gift.
Okay.
I think the guy like it. But like I said, during my days, when I were making Pro Bowls consistently, I would get the entire group something. Coaches included, all the D linemen and the coaches included. A couple years ago, I got everybody chains with their number on it and their last name, and then it was their option to get diamonds in it. I was not paying for I was not paying for your necklace to get iced out.
Yeah,
but it was a decent option. But I've always given out stuff when I went to the Pro Bowls. Even if it's bags or nice bags. When guys really didn't have MacBooks or laptops or stuff like that. So I would go out and spend a pretty good amount on it, and guys would appreciate that.
You don't need to get Josh Sweat a laptop. He'll
you know
make
what?
his own.
You know what? The crazy part is Josh Sweat and Javon Hargrave made Pro Bowls, and we still were not Pro Bowl gifts.
Are there fouls? Like if somebody's just giving you something that like is a sponsor of theirs, and they're like, is that like looked down upon, or is that
you got to open the checkbook to spend 30 or 40 grand. Appreciate the guys that help you get to where you got, and I'm still. So, Hargrave and Sweat, I'm still waiting on my Pro Bowl gift from a couple years ago. So,
We'll clip that and put that out so Josh and Javon see that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting.
This is the real heart of the Eagles-Niners rivalry. It's nothing about anything else. It's just where is the Pro Bowl gift from Javon?
Well, it's mandatory, right? It's mandatory. You make it to the Pro Bowl, you give you guys in your room gifts. I think a lot of guys
this is
do
good
that.
to know.
Now, elsewhere in the locker room, who I either got or gave the best gift? One that like the D lineman looked at and said, "Man, I wish I played that position."
You know who's a good gifter?
Who's that?
Josh Sweat.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. What's the best one he's given?
Well, I think last year we have Secret Santas.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So he gives he gave his guy last year BG some really nice stuff. He took his time and gifted it out, and I'm like, man, I wish that would have been me. But
so is it just in the position group line?
Yeah, just in the position group. Yeah. And I think Jay Hurts got all of this year. It was nice. I wish I was an O lineman this year. He gave
the O linemen get taken care of.
They all got Rolexes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So maybe I need to play online for
Well,
them.
it's nice to be the people protecting the guy who makes the most money.
Yeah, a couple snaps and give me a Rolex, you know?
Where if you had to play a snap on offense, where are you lining up?
Oh, receiver. Yeah, just put me out there. I could say I played one snap of receiver.
Slay got to play a snap, a couple times. Let's
That's what. Don't put me in motion though, 'cause I don't want to do all that running.
You don't have to worry about
no,
that.
just line me up out there.
Yeah.
You know
Don't
what
do
I
much
mean?
motion.
I just want the picture. That's all I want. I just want the picture. That's
All
it.
right, I like that. Well, Fletch preparing for Johnny Gans this week as you guys look to close the season strong again. You go from playing on Christmas to New Year's, but you finally get a 1 o'clock game.
Thank you, NFL, for finally giving us a 1 o'clock game
You have to be home New Year's Eve.
this late in the season because I feel like I played.
This
all
is
over
the first
place.
1 o'clock game since when, Zach?
The Washington game, right?
Since Washington.
Yeah, since the
On
Washington
road
game,
they've had-
yeah.
yeah, but
And
at
there's
home since
nothing.
Washington.
There's nothing like waking up and going to play football.
And not having to take a nap like before.
Yeah, no naps.
Yeah.
You know.
And you're home for dinner.
And I'm home for dinner.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, Fletch, thank you for taking the time. We will talk to you later.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you next week. And as Fletcher makes his way out, it's my turn to tell you about Game Time. If you want to go watch Fletcher and the Eagles take on Jonathan Gannon next week, all you have to do is go to Game Time. You know all about Game Time. It is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. They've got flash deals on last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Game Time is the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, just
2 taps.
and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through your email. Tickets make great holiday gifts. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed.
Now, let me tell you guys about FOCO, right? Because we actually received a nice message from a reader who looked like, I shouldn't say reader, a viewer / listener who looked like Eagles slippers from FOCO using the PHLY code, because FOCO is the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. If you check out our YouTube page or you check out Renee's social media, you'll see Renee showing off a new Philly sweater that FOCO is putting out. They have the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season, not for long, but for a few more weeks here. And overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our set. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY10 for 10% off.
Zach, how you doing?
I'm well. I didn't get as much sleep as I was hoping last night. It's just the adrenaline of the game.
You never fall asleep. I was talking to Dallas Goedert about that last week in the locker room.
Okay.
How we, no matter how late you get home after a game, reporters and players alike, you go through the ringer. You can't fall asleep. Your brain's too wired.
Well, Dallas said actually yesterday he wasn't going to see. He said the pick six was going to keep him up at night. So
He would have been up at night anyway.
yeah. Now I posted a story that you all can read on allphly.com at about 1:30 a.m. last night, and then it took me like an hour or 2 hours to go to sleep, and then
You have an empty house right
I have
now.
an
You
empty
still
house.
can't sleep in?
I have an empty house. Set no alarms. Made sure I turned all the kids' alarms off. Right, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sleep until like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Boom, 6 o'clock comes around. I pull up my phone so I can post the snap counts. Like
Well, that's
I
your
get
fault,
up,
Zach.
I post the.
That's
the-
your. You know that
Yeah,
you can't
so-
go back to
so
sleep.
I
you pull
post-
up your phone.
Yeah,
Come
I pull
on.
up the phone to post the snap counts and
Act
just
like you want to be here.
and just read the Inquirer stories. And And then all of a sudden, it's like 7:30.
You got nobody to blame but yourself here, my
yeah,
friend.
I know. And Emily's texting, go back to sleep. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm with Emily.
And then-
Emily should be furious.
and then at that point, I'm going through the numbers, I'm going through the game, and all of a sudden, it's time to shower and go to work. So, yeah, that was my morning. But pumped to be here, pumped for this week. I don't want to give it away because I think last time I messed up the surprise, but we have a special guest coming this week. Are we allowed to say who?
I think we can. I think
Okay.
we can tease it. We are going to have Coach Flynn joining the show in studio tomorrow. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, so I become smarter as a football observer when Coach Flynn's here. I know we're kind of workshopping this out loud. Do we have Professor Selman this week or not?
We do not.
We do not have Professor Selman this week, which is probably good because that whole thing would go into a Jonathan Gannon debate, right? And we've already done that with Professor Selman.
And you might
many
defenestrate
times.
yourself after getting toasted in that debate.
But no, I'm doing well. Excited for this week, last week of 2023. Let's end it strong.
I feel like I got to continue to speak up for Emily here. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had a chance to really get some sleep, bank some sleep with the family away.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, what are we doing?
I tell you
When do they get back?
They get back Friday.
You got to take some melatonin tonight at the very least. I would recommend something stronger, but you got to bank some hours, my friend.
I don't know why I'm so obsessed with looking at those snap counts and reading reading the Inquirer stories.
Those Inquirer stories aren't going anywhere. You can read them at 10.
Sure. But anyways, and then sharing my story because I wanted everyone on social media to read it in case they didn't see the message overnight.
Okay.
Got some Christmas carols in there. Got some, I thought, some good insight from around the locker room. Put in perspective, some of the pivotal moments, the big play in the game, and some looking forward as well. And I was probably a little late writing that because I had on the 49ers-Ravens game in the corner of my eye. And that actually got interesting late when Sam Darnold came in.
Did you go home to write?
Yes, so the Eagles have this thing here where they close the park. Oh, I shouldn't say the Eagles because I don't know who owns the parking lot. The parking lot closes 3 hours afterwards now.
Yeah. That's not enough.
Yes, yeah, and they make an announcement in the press box.
It's kind of ridiculous, honestly.
But so what I do is I transcribe, and then I check the traffic, and the traffic has died down. I get in and I finish writing at home, and a lot of other writers do this as well. Because otherwise, there's been a few instances.
This is garbanzo beans.
There's been a few instances this year where some reporters are like stuck in the parking lot.
I'm sorry, they got to do better. That's not acceptable.
Well, I mean, I don't think that is the Eagles doing. I think it's whoever owns the lot. But
Who owns the lot? Wells Fargo?
I don't know if this is podcast fodder. Is this?
I don't
have
know.
enough
This is
information
how the sausage gets made. That's not 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours, and
That's
they announced,
nothing.
Yeah, that's why this year people have gone home now to finish writing, or they try to write quickly. But fortunately, on allphly.com, there's no hard deadline, there's no hard word limit, so I'm able to, kind of, what's the flex the writing muscles a bit? Isn't that what you do when you write? Yeah.
If you say so.
Now, I miss the days of seeing you look like a tortured soul, right? You got your coffee, you're pulling your hair out. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not pulling my hair out. My hair is actually just coming out naturally. It has nothing to do with.
By the way, I've gotten a lot of I really like the facial hair on Bo messages.
Interesting.
I feel like you're, after your yesterday was notwithstanding, but after you took offense to the fashion conversation.
Now you're taking a shot at holiday attire.
I mean, I understand it was festive, right? But I think you've really been cognizant of it, and yeah.
I actually disagree. I think it's been the exact same, and
I
you were
think
just trying to walk back your
No, I
offensive
think-
comments from earlier in the season.
I think this has been like the autumn of Bo.
I don't think so. I think you're trying to be obsequious, but I appreciate the effort.
I got to look that word up.
Okay. What else is what's on your mind, Zach? We talked after the game last night, but having let things settle, having gotten those 45 minutes of sleep that you got to think things through, what has changed in your mind? What would you like to talk about from what happened yesterday?
You see, by the way, Claire, who sent me a nice email this morning, respect to Claire, she noticed I wrote Devontae Smith said by his locker room and not by his locker, so I edited that out.
Uh-huh.
So Claire, appreciate
Thank you, Claire.
You reading, but Claire says Bo wears the facial hair well.
Thank you, Claire.
So
I've never really done. I've only ever just grown the beard and just let it grow. Never really trimmed the beard. This is the first time I've ever
you're pulling
trimmed
it off well.
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, as I was writing and as we talked about with Fletcher, it really does seem like different players have different perspectives on how to view this. Some guys like Brandon Graham said, there's no almost column. Don't give me this. We barely won talk. He says you either win or you lose. And then Devontae Smith, who was like, I'm not happy. We need to clean this up. We got 2 weeks. So there's now.
We can sort of see that, right? Like Brandon Graham has been in the league for 14 years. He has seen terrible teams. He has seen the effect of those losses, and a win is a win. Yeah. Devontae is coming from Alabama, and his standards are so high. Like you can see where both of those guys are coming from.
And Fletcher, that was good insight there, because I don't know if the Eagles have put out the video
I think he's
yet.
in the middle, right? He's saying a win is a win, but also why are we making it so hard on ourselves?
But the Eagles haven't put out the video yet of Nick Sirianni walking in, and Nick's message to the team is very much like a win is a win is a win is a win, right? That
feels like a message to himself. If I am psychoanalyzing,
interesting.
He doesn't strike me as a guy who was happy with that performance, nor do I think he should be.
So I know this is on the bingo card. Okay, I put out a tweet this morning. Okay, and I just I juxtaposed it or compared it to December 26th. 2017, when Eagles fans woke up after a bad performance against the Raiders, and their message, Nick Foles' message and Malcolm Jenkins' his message was, we just need to win this game. It doesn't matter how it looks. Now, it's not apples for apples. The circumstances were different. That win clinched the number 1 seed for the Eagles, right? So it's totally different. You get a bye week, you get home field advantage throughout the playoffs, right? I get all that. But I bring that up because this might seem like a hot take alert. I don't think so. I'd feel for the Eagles fans watching, Eagles fans should feel better about this team today than the Eagles team on December 26th, 2017. Is that a ridiculous statement? Tyler, our ace producer today, we missed Julia. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to Julia. But Tyler's in here today. We appreciate it. And Tyler's nodding his head in agreement.
I think you're out of your mind.
You think I'm out of my mind?
Yeah.
You thought on...
Now, listen, it's hard
You're
to...
the one who had that show saying the season's over when Carson Wentz went down.
Correct. But obviously, you cannot divorce what we know happened since. However... As you said, they clinched the number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. Okay, they set things up so that they had a better path. We can talk about it is actually it's kind of wild how plausible it seems now that the Eagles could be the number 1 seed after the San Francisco loss, but there were so many more layers to that team. And I feel like why you would feel good about this team is too much related to last year. And I think we have to stop thinking about last year with this team. This team is not last year's team. Yes, they've got Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and a great offensive line. And their path to making hay in the playoffs is having this elite offense. And yesterday against the Giants, by the efficiency numbers, by the per possession numbers, they were elite. They were great. They were playing against a terrible defense, but in terms of playing at the level they need to play at in the playoffs, scoring-wise, they did that yesterday. Mm-hmm. That's great. I don't have any faith that the team as a whole is ready to win 3 games in a row against good competition Now, listen, as I said to Fletcher, you can turn it on. It doesn't matter what happens over the course of the season. It matters what happens in January. But I do not feel better about the team right now than I did about them after that Raiders game. And I know that after that Raiders game, I was one of the people thinking, like, what's going on here? They're probably going to lose. But I still feel worse about this team.
So, and look, this team has not done enough to engender confidence. But, did I use engender correctly?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You smiled when I said that. Okay.
No, I'm just... I'm just thinking that, like, I don't want to be like Donovan Downer. Okay, like I know that
when
everybody
did Downer
here
get demoted and Donovan Downer stepped in?
This is an Eagles thing.
Okay.
I've always used Donovan Downer with the Eagles. Everybody watching the show is an Eagles fan. They want to believe that this team is going to win the Super Bowl. I don't want to be the one to pour cold water on it. You can be optimist. I'm telling you what I feel. I do not believe that there is reason to think that this team is going to go win the Super Bowl, and the stakes are higher.
So that's what's fascinating to me about this postseason. And we can get into the different machinations of who they could play and what those seedings could be. But, like, it's obvious to say everything's on the table. I can see this team laying an egg against the Rams in the first round of the playoffs, or I can see this team, like, third down and red zone variance, as you've written, adjusts. The passer, the defensive line, like Fletcher says, all of a sudden starts winning games. Like everything comes together and they start dominating up front. And like these things, but I'm saying if like these things happen, and it's not like sitting there being a Bucs fan saying, well, if all this could happen, these are all very plausible things. Like the Eagles can be better on third down.
What's plausible about the defensive line being dominant?
Oh, the personnel that they have. They've
had 15 games.
I hear you. I'm not disputing that.
It's like saying it's plausible that Julio Jones can recapture his prime glory. Like,
I mean Hassan Reddick.
Just because it happened doesn't mean there's recent evidence for it.
Like I don't think Josh Sweat is. I think he's a more productive player than what you've seen over the past 6 weeks. They have talent up front. Like the 49ers, if that Trent Williams injury turns into something more serious or cost him to miss time, right? That could factor into things here. There's just, I made the point last week when I wrote it and when I said it, and I stand by it, that, and this isn't even like an optimistic viewpoint. This is just the reality of the NFL. 3 weeks ago from last week, so 4 weeks ago now, coming off that Chiefs win, it's like this team, Jalen Hurts is the MVP. They just beat the defending Super Bowl champs. They're at that point 10-1. It's like, man, they have what it takes, right? Then 3 weeks later, it's like the sky is falling all around us. 3 weeks in the NFL is an eternity, okay? I'm not suggesting that 2 wins over the Giants and a win over the Cardinals, if that's how it comes to fruition.
I mean, this is 3 games against like 2 of the literal worst teams in the NFL.
What I'm saying is that like things around you change, right? That's true. We'll see what happens with the 49ers over these next few weeks. We can get to this conversation. It is crazy to think that as poorly as the Eagles have played, and I'm a point differential guy, and their point differential is not good right now, especially compared to the top teams in the league. For all of that, it's entirely plausible that the Eagles beat the Cardinals, beat the Giants, okay? And that
by like a combined 6 points.
Okay, fine. But that the Cowboys beat the Lions, right? That's a plausible thing. And it's plausible that the Rams beat the 49ers. And if those events happen, the Eagles are somehow the 1 seed. They have a first-round bye.
Yeah, if you tell me they're going to be the 1 seed, then all of a sudden I can believe it. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like that Raiders game, they got the 1 seed. Like that was a significant part of the calculus.
I still think they're the 2 seed.
I think, probably. I don't know. I guess
we'll see what happens with that.
We'll see what happens with Detroit.
Yeah.
I think so much of the faith is based on things we have seen before, but they were last year. And now listen, they beat the Chiefs and they beat the Bills. I know, but like
they beat the Cowboys. right? Like this is not the NBA Finals. This is not Major League Baseball. It's who's better on that Sunday. And the Eagles, in my opinion, can be better than any of these NFC teams on that Sunday.
And to your point about things changing, even if they are, eking by with wins over bad teams, maybe it changes like the locker room self-belief, like that stuff matters to some degree. But like vibes-wise, I am worried about things spiraling with this team, and I'm sorry.
I'm
to
not a
say
vibes
that,
guy. You're more of a vibes guy than I am.
I don't know, man. You watched that game yesterday. You were feeling good.
Oh no, and I said it on the show. But I can't overstate this enough. The 49ers lost in 3 consecutive games: the Browns, the Vikings, and the Bengals. Right? They
were missing key players.
They didn't score more than 17 points in any of those games. Okay, and now all of a sudden, like before last night, they were this untouchable team. My point being, things change so much in the NFL.
Of course they do.
And it's one, and
no one's arguing that.
And in the playoffs, it's who's better on that 1 week. And so I am not saying this team's good enough where they can flip a switch. I'm just saying this team's not bad enough where I say, they can't compete with the top teams, because I think A, they have the talent, B, they have the experience, and C, now I'm really impressed with the Ravens, right? But you don't have to think about that until, the Super Bowl's ambitious to talk about now. But point being, like, I've seen them play with Dallas. I've seen them beat Dallas. And we know that Dallas is not the same team on the road than they are at home. Like, that's bared itself out, okay? I've seen them beat the Bills. I've seen them beat the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs aren't the same team that we thought they might have been. The 49ers game was really embarrassingly bad, and that is a concern. And I think if you're looking for the reason for hope there, it's that things change over the course of the season. And if they play the 49ers, you're not talking about that for another month.
I just like
the purpose of the regular season.
They've got the talent. They've got the experience. Okay, then like, can they go into a game and not like step on themselves repeatedly? Like, can Jalen Hurts know the situation of a game he's playing in week 16, please? Like, can Nick Sirianni talk about situational awareness and use his timeouts correctly?
Oh, I am with you there.
Give me a break with this stuff.
But my point is, that is all correctable. What's not correctable?
But is it correctable? It's been correct. Every week, this is 16 weeks of saying it's correctable. It hasn't been corrected. No, it's getting worse.
Yeah, but so I would be much more concerned if you said, like going into 2021 playoffs, the Eagles didn't have wide receivers, right? Outside of like they just didn't have a passing game. Okay, they had Devontae. They didn't have a passing game, and I'd be much concerned going into the postseason if you said this is a personnel issue and they are not good enough. If all these things are
well, let's talk about the back seven.
Okay, but if all these things are they need to clean up X, they need to clean up Y, yeah, now they need to do it. They're running out of time, but you can, like situational football, you can be better in those situations. You're not all of a sudden going to get A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith overnight. That's my point, is that I know you're saying I'm fixated on what I saw last year, and I have been guilty of like what's an anchoring bias, you know, where you see something and you're anchored to that. I just think when I look at this team, they can put up 30 most weeks. You know, like they have the ability to put up 30. They have the ability to pressure a quarterback, and when you do that, I think they can. I think they can make. I think they're capable. I'm not saying they're making a run. I think they're capable of it.
Over the course of the season, they rank 24th in sacks per pass attempt. They're capable of getting after the quarterback, just like every team in the league is capable of getting after the quarterback. But like they played a Giants team yesterday that gets sacked way more than any other team in the league. And they got one sack, and it was Shaquille Leonard. Like, I think you're going to be waiting a long time for the defensive line to you know, Fletcher Cox knows way more about football and has forgotten more than I will ever know, right? And he thinks there's a chance that it's coming. That's great. I hope for everybody watching that he is right. It has not happened.
Yeah, I hear you. I just look. I remember the NBA last year when Milwaukee's like clearly the top team, right, in the Eastern Conference, or not clear, they're the top team in the Eastern Conference, and they get upset in the first round and it opens things up. I remember the year before that when Phoenix wins like 60-plus games, they lose. Golden State needs to play in tournament, and they just turn it on in the postseason. I'm not suggesting that the Eagles are a flip-the-switch team. I said that on the show last night. They're not good enough to earn the flip-the-switch distinction yet. What I'm saying is that they're an 11-4 team, okay, that the odds are strongly in favor of them, strongly in favor of them winning the division right now, okay, so hosting a home playoff game. Possible, and I don't know what the odds are that they get but the odds could be favorable that they get the 2 seed. What's the Lions spread there? The Lions-Cowboys spread. Whatever it may be. So then you're hosting 2 playoff games, and I just look at it like, in the NFL,
Cowboys by 6.
Yeah, so the odds are in favor of the Eagles being the 2 seed, hosting 2 playoff games. So many things could happen. Well, I mentioned on the show when the Eagles made the Matt Patricia change that I talked about the Ravens in 2012. The Ravens finished that season like really poorly. I think they lost 3 or 4 or 4 or 5, and then Flacco makes this great play against the Broncos in the playoffs. They go on this run, they win the Super Bowl. So all I'm saying is that if you get there and you have the talent, I'd be more concerned if they didn't have the talent.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
What's more likely, the Eagles win the Super Bowl or Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson, one of them is not back next year?
I think it's more likely probably that Brian Johnson's not back next year than the Eagles win the Super Bowl. But because Brian Johnson could also get hired to be a head coach next year as well. So I think Nick Sirianni's back. It would, at this point, it would utterly shock me if Nick Sirianni's not back. I could be wrong, but...
Okay.
But they are, like, these things that Nick talks about, and I'm in full agreement with you, fundamentals, situational football, they're not... Turnovers, like, they are not doing...
I think that, like, takeaways are fluky and inconsistent. Giving the ball away is not. That is a reflection of your sloppiness.
Sure. Now, the pick six... That was just an unfortunate thing, but it
could have been a pick 6 on the play before.
That's what I'm saying. I was just about to say that. It could have been a pick 6 on the play before. So they simply they're not disciplined enough. I don't know whether to use the term focused enough, but I do want to circle back after this ad read. Do we have one?
Well, why don't you finish what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I want to circle back on the vibes discussion because I think that's something that keeps coming up.
All right. Well, Zach, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with one tap. I never have to get on the phone with customer service. They will even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. I, myself, I'm a very satisfied Rocket Money user. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
Now, I love bagels, okay? And
what's not to love?
You can find good bagels in Brooklyn, but this is the best of both worlds. Brooklyn-style bagels that are made in Philly with Philly love. We're talking, of course, about Bagels & Co. They're huge bagels, the biggest bagels in Philly, okay? That's why it's the Brooklyn, New Jersey style, and there's a large variety, 15 to 20 different types to choose from daily, and they have seasonal bagels as well. So Christmas just passed. They had a Christmas-flavored bagel for the Christmas season. Also, I'd like to experiment with cream cheese, I'd like to,
I'm listening.
No, if I get the bagel and I see like an interesting cream cheese, I'll try that. I don't just need the plain cream cheese all the time. Well, Bagels & Co. has 30 different flavors of cream cheese and schmears. They have the staples as well as seasonal flavors that change with the season. They also have an Eagles cream cheese and a 76ers cream cheese as well. And they are affordable. You can get good bagels at a low price in today's inflationary world. That is the key. For the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, head to www.thebagelsco.com/store locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you.
All right, what's your vibes question?
Okay, so my vibes question is this: does body language matter to you? Or I shouldn't. I'm gonna reframe this. Do you think we, and I use the royal we, but you and I fans, can properly interpret body language? And then I do have a little bit of context here, in that I'm not speaking out of turn because the guy brought this up to me. I was talking about that exchange that we all saw on the TV copy, and as I was talking about it with Jeff McClain from the Inquirer, my former colleague and my friend, who
Your former friend?
No, my
or
former colleague.
Your former colleague
and
your
my
current friend?
ongoing friend.
Okay.
Yes. And one of the guys was the camera people. He was sitting at a table. He overheard us, and he actually said that it didn't make the broadcast because so many things were happening at the end of the game, but actually like Devontae and Sirianni hugged at the end of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But how much, I'm a Bill Simmons fan, okay? And I always heard Bill Simmons say, like, he's like the body language, scientist or doctor or whatever, right? Like, how much do you think body language matters when you're interpreting it from the outside?
Well, I think your question of like how much can you actually know is a little bit loaded. Like, of course, nobody knows the actual answer. I think, like anything, the context is important. And I think what matters is when something is out of the ordinary, right?
Okay.
So A.J. Brown slumping his shoulders when he doesn't get a target or a ball is thrown behind him is part of the A.J. Brown experience. That is, I don't think that is something necessarily to worry about. It is part of a larger conversation of like, it's interesting that this guy is a captain and like, is that the way that you want the guy to act? But a bona fide superstar wide receiver wanting the ball, totally normal. And like, there is no amount of targets that could be enough for him. That's fine. Stuff like the game being on the line and Hassan Reddick barking back and forth with the sideline over something and Devontae Smith getting involved in that conversation, yes, that is very much on my radar for a team that, like, let's not forget, fired its defensive coordinator 2 weeks ago, okay?
Sure.
Like, let's not pretend that this is a harmonious situation in the building right now, okay? Either, we've talked about it, either Jeffrey Lurie and or Howie Roseman were getting involved in the coaching staff and decided that they needed to make a change, or Nick Sirianni feels like his back is against the wall in some capacity and he needs to make a change, okay? So, like, things are not rosy. And yes, there are difficult conversations. This is the conversation I was trying to have with Fletcher before. Like, we don't see barely like a drip in the bucket of the conversations they have in the building, at the stadium on a weekly basis. There are difficult conversations. Like, every team that wins a Super Bowl has had contentious situations over the course of their season. These guys are in the same building together for 6 months at a time, all of that stuff. Like, there are going to be clashes. But when it's spilling out onto the field in critical situations, yeah, I think that definitely matters.
So I hear you. Now, someone in the chat yesterday when I said like football sideline conversations kind of mocked the expression, but a football sideline is not a normal workplace, right? These are competitive people in high leverage competitive situations, and this is the way communication happens. So if Hassan Reddick feels like he has a productive rush coming and Nick Sirianni calls a timeout, And Hassan
And
Reddick.
by the way, I do think that was a bad timeout to call.
Okay, and so Hassan Reddick, like for him to react that way, if that's what the situation was, I'm fine with that. Like that. These are competitive people in competitive situations. Okay, I have actually more of an issue, frankly, with I don't know if this is the opposite of it, but I remember there was a Jay Glazer report earlier this year that like Wink Martindale and Brian Dable aren't talking, right? There's like the passive aggressiveness of things where there's so much friction that you just like close somebody off. But I bring up body language because everyone has different ways of conveying things. And I remember speaking to a former Eagles assistant coach who said he actually has in his room he cared so much about body language that he graded body language on film, and players were like demerited if they exhibited bad body language because he thought that was really important. There's sometimes you just, for instance, a shout out to Vince here. Vince is like, Bo's so hard to read sometimes, right? You tell him something and he keeps this. Everyone has a different way of exhibiting body language. Nick Sirianni's joked with me that he'll be talking and I'll be like nodding my head, right? Like, that's a form of nonverbal communication. To show that like you're listening to what they're saying.
So I'm confused. Are you taking a shot at me right now?
No, I'm not. I'm saying everyone has different ways of like everyone's body language is different in different situations. And I've been getting messages via email, via like replies, sometimes DMs, where it's like,
wow, all the carrier pigeon, all this stuff.
Where it's like all this team's body language worries me. And I always say, can we interpret body language from the outside?
Here's the flip side to that, though.
Okay.
This goes to the situational awareness and the turnover stuff. If you are Mr. Connect, we are all about connection, all this stuff. Like, should it be so contentious? Isn't that the whole point? Like, aren't they supposed to be pulling in the same direction?
Well, that's what Nick said yesterday. Is that's the part of connection, that you can have these conversations and like these things don't get in the way of it. Like Jalen Hurts and AJ,
but it was like literally getting in the way of the end of the game.
I mean, was it?
They had to like tell him to go back on like,
week two. By the way, there's this whole to do about AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. Okay, on the sideline. AJ is like so emotional that he can't talk after the game. And then he goes on the next 6 weeks and has a historic stretch of games. So sometimes it's like, sometimes it does matter, right? And sometimes it can be overstated, is my point. And I don't know what the right answer is, but I do think that to us watching the game, these are like actors on the stage, right?
Yeah, we're all observers.
Yeah. To them, these are like competitive people in high leverage, competitive situations. And in my basketball league, late in the game, there's screaming, there's animation on the sideline, right? And that's like a random men's league basketball, or not men's league, adults league basketball. This is the freaking NFL, okay? This is, I'm okay with like competitive people in high leverage situations acting like competitive people in high leverage situations.
But do you agree that it is different than it has been in the past? Like that is why it is notable. It's out of character.
For whom?
For the team under Nick Sirianni. And by the way, Matt is correct. My body language is easy to read when you say something like, I like to experiment with cream cheese.
Yeah, you didn't.
Perk up. Oh, well, I'm interested. Tell me more.
Yeah, you didn't sell it. That's for sure. All right, look, there are some troubling signs for sure. I'm curious to see if it is competitive or if there's more. Like Jeff McClain had a podcast out last week where he called the Eagles the most miserable 10-1 team. You know,
No, he didn't call him that. He said he had heard from someone in the building. Yes.
Yeah, someone said the Eagles were the most miserable 10-1 team. And from my own observations, being around them, and I've talked about this, they are not having like the same fun and joy that they had a year ago. I think part of this is when you make the Super Bowl and there's expectations and there's pressure. How do you react to that? And I think that's part of what you're seeing. And then also, and I strongly believe this, okay, when you win, everyone thinks they're the reason. And when you lose, no one wants to blame. Like everyone wants to say, they might accept the blame, but everyone is easy to say, well, that person, or the opposite. Everyone says, well, if I'm allowed to do this, things will be better. So
when we have literally already seen that play out, they fired a defensive coordinator.
For sure. So I'm simply having good podcast conversation here. I thought it was an interesting talking point because as I was driving back last night listening to the show, the first third of the show was about the vibes, and that's like that.
I feel
that's
like,
an intangible
are we
thing
not? It is blowing my mind that we're not accepting the firing of the defensive coordinator midseason as a sign that there are things like rotting in the building. We cannot pretend that didn't happen.
Oh, I never pretended it didn't happen. I literally acknowledged that.
But that is not like oh, this is just in the heat of the moment, difficult conversations and difficult games. That is like something is not right.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not disputing any of that. I'm simply saying to
and we
what
have
degree...
I'm sorry, but we have over a decade of the way that the organization is run with Howie Roseman in charge, of the way that things sometimes disintegrate in the building. You and I talked about in the offseason that we'd already heard that like the volume has already sort of been turned up because after the Super Bowl in 2017, there was the belief that they sort of let off the gas pedal, and they are not going to do that this season. And all of a sudden, like we see acrimony as the season is going on. I do not feel good about the state of the team, the organization at the moment.
I'm simply saying like the way my mind works, and this kind of combines the past two conversations, is if you say I'm concerned about this team because, and after the because it's, well, their secondary is leaky, okay? They are not a disciplined football team, okay? Their pass rush is overrated. Like if you give me those reasons, I say okay. If you say because I don't like their vibes right now, then I say, look, there's a lot of people who would.
But that's all. It's all connected, though.
That's
Zach.
not me.
It's all connected.
Okay.
Like maybe part of the reason the vibes are bad is because they're playing Ben Van Sumeren at linebacker, and the defensive line that's getting paid $1 billion doesn't have a sack, and the secondary is not very good, and like they keep turning the ball over on offense. It's all connected.
Sure, I'm simply saying like I need more than vibes. Is all I'm saying, and I'm saying that to the audience. I'm like.
But I'm just that's what I just said.
Okay.
It's all part. It is more than vibes, but the vibes are a part of it.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough.
All right. Well, I guess we continue this conversation tomorrow. Maybe Coach Flynn can tell us a little bit about the silliness of vibes. We'll see what he thinks about that. Look forward to that tomorrow. That will be at 2:00. Then back on Thursday, and that'll be it for the week. With the holiday week, taking Friday off, that's good stuff. But we thank Fletcher Cox for joining us on the show today. We thank Tyler for running things behind the scenes. We thank Zach for his experimentation with cream cheese. And we look forward to getting back at it tomorrow. So for all the sickos, we thank you for listening. We thank you for watching. And we will talk to you tomorrow. As always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.